We live in a world where almost everything gets shared. Birthdays, coffee cups, quiet Sunday mornings, even heartbreak dressed up with the right filter. The bar for what's worth posting has never been lower. And yet, some people never post. Not once. Not even a repost. Not even a reaction. They're there, watching, reading, absorbing, but never showing up in anyone's feed. You might know someone like that. Maybe you are someone like that. And here's the question that tends to linger. Why? Why would someone choose to stay invisible in a world that's practically begging for your attention? It's easy to assume they're just private, or shy, or maybe a little behind the times. But that's not the full picture. Not even close. Beneath that silence, there's an entire psychology at work. One that says something profound about human nature, about identity, about what it really means to exist in the age of the algorithm. If this is already making you think, subscribe before we go further. I post videos like this every week, deep dives into the psychology behind everyday human behavior. Hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Now, let's get into it. See, for some people, silence isn't absence. It's a decision. It's the quiet power of choosing what the world doesn't get to know about you. Because whether we realize it or not, social media has slowly and subtly reshaped the way we define ourselves. It rewards display. It validates noise. It tells us constantly that to exist meaningfully you have to be seen. And yet, the people who never post are often the ones who see everything most clearly. They watch without needing to interrupt. They think before they react. They process before they speak. They move through the world with the kind of patience that the internet actively discourages. Psychologists have found something worth paying attention to here. People who refrain from posting frequently often score higher on traits like self-restraint, introspection, and emotional independence. They tend to be less affected by social comparison, less hungry for external validation. In other words, they're not trying to prove who they are. They're still in the process of figuring it out. And they're doing that work quietly, privately, without an audience. In a world this obsessed with performance, that's not a flaw, that's rare. See, for some people, silence isn't absence. It's a decision. It's the quiet power of choosing what the world doesn't get to know about you. Because whether we realize it or not, social media has slowly and subtly reshaped the way we define ourselves. It rewards display. It validates noise. It tells us constantly that to exist meaningfully, you have to be seen. And yet, the people who never post are often the ones who see everything most clearly. They watch without needing to interrupt. They think before they react. They process before they speak. They move through the world with the kind of patience that the internet actively discourages. Psychologists have found something worth paying attention to here. People who refrain from posting frequently often score higher on traits like self-restraint, introspection, and emotional independence. They tend to be less affected by social comparison, less hungry for external validation. In other words, they're not trying to prove who they are. They're still in the process of figuring it out. And they're doing that work quietly, privately, without an audience. In a world this obsessed with performance, that's not a flaw, that's rare. Because here is the thing most people don't say out loud. Most of what we post isn't really about communication. It's about identity crafting. It's an unconscious audition for belonging. Every caption, every photo, every carefully worded update, all of it is quietly saying one thing. This is who I am. Do you approve? That's not an insult, it's just honest. We are wired to seek acceptance. Social media just gave us a 24/7 stage for it. And most of us stepped on without even realizing. But when someone stops posting, something shifts. They stop thinking in captions. They stop reaching for their phone every time something beautiful, or funny, or painful happens. They start experiencing moments for themselves again. Not for a lens. Not for an audience. Not for a reaction count. And that's the quiet secret behind a lot of people who don't post. They crave authenticity in a space where everything feels staged. They don't hate social media, they just can't locate themselves inside it anymore. It's not about being against technology, it's about refusing to flatten your entire existence into a highlight reel. Because when you've seen how easily perception can be manufactured, you start valuing the things that can't be: silence, depth, Imperfection? Truth. For a lot of people who don't post, there's a story behind the silence. They used to. Maybe they shared everything: the trips, the meals, the moods, the milestones. And somewhere along the way, it stopped feeling real. They started noticing that every time they shared something beautiful, there was an invisible pressure building underneath it. A pressure to keep outdoing themselves, to keep the feed consistent, to stay interesting enough to deserve the following they built. They weren't living anymore. They were performing. So they stopped. Quietly. No announcement. No final post. Just a slow withdrawal from the feed that most people didn't even notice until weeks later. And what tends to follow that exit is something most people don't expect: relief. Not loneliness. Not FOMO. Relief. Because here is what often gets misunderstood about the quiet ones. Not posting doesn't mean not feeling. It doesn't mean they don't care. More often than not, it means they care too much. Too much about presence, about meaning, about protecting the things that still feel sacred. There's a concept in psychology called psychological ownership. It's the deep feeling that something truly belongs to you. A thought, a memory, an experience that is yours in a way that goes beyond the physical. And when you post it, that ownership quietly dissolves. The moment stops being yours alone. It becomes shared property, open to interpretation, open to judgment, to misreading, to a comment from someone who was never there. Something that felt intimate and whole gets fragmented the moment it's public. People who don't post are often consciously or not guarding that sense of ownership over their own lives. They're keeping their memories untouched, their experiences intact, their inner world uncolonized by other people's opinions. Think about it. When was the last time you did something meaningful and didn't feel the pull to share it? When was the last time you laughed so hard, or felt something so deeply, or reached a quiet milestone, and the thought of posting didn't even graze your mind? That reflex, that need to broadcast, isn't natural. It's conditioned. It's the result of years of dopamine loops, of likes and hearts training our brains to confuse validation with value. And when someone steps outside that system, choosing to keep a moment entirely for themselves, that's not withdrawal. That's reclamation. That's a quiet kind of freedom most of us have forgotten is even available. I want to pause here for a second. If this is landing for you, if you recognize yourself or someone you know in what I am describing, drop a comment below. Even just a word. I read all of them, and honestly, the conversations that happen in the comments on videos like this are some of the most real ones on the internet. I'll be down there after this. Keep watching. Ever scrolled through your feed and wondered about that one friend who never posts? You know, they're out there, living their life, but their digital footprint is almost zero. What's going on in their head? Is it a protest against social media? A sign of super high self-esteem? Or something else entirely? Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating psychology of people who choose to lurk rather than post. First off, let's get one thing straight. Not posting doesn't automatically mean someone is unhappy or antisocial. In fact, for many, it's the exact opposite. One of the biggest reasons people stay silent online is that they're genuinely busy living. They're so engaged in their real-world experiences, their careers, hobbies, and relationships that documenting it all for an audience just isn't a priority. They're experiencing the moment, not capturing it. Think of it as the ultimate form of being present. They'd rather have a deep conversation with the person in front of them than spend 10 minutes trying to find the perfect filter for their coffee. It's a choice to prioritize direct experience over a curated digital narrative. Another powerful psychological factor is privacy. In an age where we share almost everything, some people are pushing back. They value their personal space and are keenly aware of the permanence of the internet. For them, sharing intimate details, personal achievements, or even casual snapshots feels like giving away a piece of themselves to a vast, unknown audience. This isn't about hiding. It's about protecting their peace and maintaining control over their own story. They understand that once something is online, it's out of their hands. This sense of control over their personal information can be incredibly grounding and lead to a greater sense of security and well-being. Then there's the group that sees social media for what it often is: a highlight reel. These individuals are often very self-aware and might resist the pressure to perform. They recognize that what they see online is a curated version of reality, and they don't feel the need to compete in the unspoken contest of who has the most exciting life. They might think, "My life is good, and I don't need validation from likes or comments to feel that way." This mindset often comes from a strong sense of self-worth that isn't dependent on external approval. They are content with their own journey and don't feel compelled to broadcast it for others to judge or envy. It's a quiet confidence that's pretty admirable. Let's also talk about social comparison. It's a huge part of the social media experience. Constantly seeing others' successes, vacations, and perfect-looking lives can be draining and can even lead to feelings of inadequacy. People who don't post often consciously opt out of this comparison game. They protect their mental health by avoiding the triggers that can lead to envy or feeling like they are not doing enough. Instead of measuring their life against a carefully constructed online persona, they focus on their own progress and their own happiness. This is a proactive form of self-care, creating a mental space free from the constant pressure to keep up. Finally, some people are just natural observers. In psychology, we talk about different social styles. Some people are performers who thrive in the spotlight, while others are observers who prefer to watch from the sidelines. These observers are still engaged. They're reading your posts, celebrating your wins, and keeping up with your life. They simply prefer a more passive role. They enjoy being part of the community without feeling the need to be a content creator within it. They're the quiet, supportive audience that every creator actually needs. So, the next time you notice a friend's silent profile, don't jump to conclusions. They might just be busy living a full life, protecting their privacy, practicing self-care, or simply enjoying the show from the best seat in the house. Their silence speaks volumes about their priorities and their strong sense of self. What do you think? Are you a poster or a lurker? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It's a fascinating topic, and I'd love to hear your perspective. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this little psychological deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.